So Blackmagic Design have finally announced DaVinci Resolve 17, and oh my goodness, it's an absolute whopper. And we're going to talk about it in this video. Sorry, something's not got right. Alexa, let there be light. So as I was just saying, DaVinci Resolve 17 is now out in public beta mode. You can go and get it from the Blackmagic Design website right now. It's very good indeed, and I would definitely recommend going and having a play. Do be careful though, please don't come back to me saying, oh, it's broken, it's crashed, it's ruined some work that I'm working on, because it is a public beta. It's very much a caveat to that. Don't go and play with it in a situation where you have one computer and you have production work that you're currently working on, because it's not going to be perfectly attuned and you may end up with lots of crashes and slowing down your whole workflow. So please be careful. If you've got a spare laptop, spare computer, or you're not working on anything critical, perfect. Go and do it, play with it, it's really good, and there's some features now. I wish I almost hadn't started playing with it because I really want to upgrade it on my main machine, but unfortunately I can't because I'm in the middle of a couple of projects. But it will come, and I'm sure it'll be well worth the wait. So what we're going to talk about today is, yeah, there's a lot of great marquee features and there's so many videos available on those just now. But what I want to talk about is 5 of my really favorite features that have come out that I sat there and looked at the live stream and thought, do you know what, that's going to make a real difference to my workflow. So with that in mind, let's get started. I'll give you my 5 favorite features of DaVinci Resolve 17 and why they will make a real difference. So thanks for taking the moment to check this video out. I really appreciate your time. And also, if you have subscribed already, thank you. Thank you very much. We've just passed 1,000 subscribers on the channel. It means the world to me that we were able to do that. And it means that each and every one of you took the time to watch a video and decide that it was worthwhile for you and hit the subscription button. So thank you very much indeed. You're most welcome. And I hope that we can continue to give you great value on the channel for many years to come. If you haven't subscribed yet, please just do give us a like. I mean, 1,000 people can't be wrong, right? Cool. So let's look at DaVinci Resolve 17. So my first favorite feature, and this is in no particular order, is proxy workflow. Now, this is particularly useful if you have a situation where you have a multiple editor situation where you have to send stuff off to editors, particularly at the moment, I'd imagine with the world that we live in right now. It might be that you have remote editors working for you, and it's very difficult sometimes if you've not got a network drive or something like that that you can all patch into to be able to manage media back and forth. And certainly sending drives in the post isn't a great method these days. So the great thing with the proxy workflow is it enables us a very straightforward, easy way of creating proxies and handing off a project file to an editor to work on and for them to send it back to us and we carry on working. So how do we do this? We've got a timeline with a few shots and I want someone to go away and work on that for me. Now, I don't have to necessarily create the timeline first, but what is great is I can come up here, highlight the ones that I want, not the timeline, and then right click and come down to generate proxy media. Now, the proxy media will then go and be created. Now, the proxy media is determined in terms of the format from the master settings page on the project settings page. So go to project settings, master settings page, scroll down to where we are familiar with the optimized media and render cache, and you'll see 2 new options here. The project proxy media resolution and then the media format. And we can choose there. So half resolution, whichever one you would prefer. I would definitely advise, similar with optimized media, not leaving it on choose automatically, because you want to have control over the project or over the resolution size of that media. The proxy media format, again, to your choice, absolutely whatever you want to do. I normally use a variety of either LT or proxy, depending on the type of footage I'm working with, but obviously any of the DNxHR options would be really suitable for most PC workflows. So the option below, the working folders, is worthwhile looking at because you can see that the proxy generation location now has a complete new location for itself to be stored in. Previously, the cache files location is where optimized media goes, but you can actually choose the proxy location to be, for example, in a folder called proxy in the working document. So if you had a project folder set up and you wanted to have a folder that said proxy media, you could absolutely do that and you could store everything in there, and then it would be also really easy to keep a handle on where all that data was. So now we've got the settings out of the way, let's come out of here. And I've showed you already that you can simply select your clips, right click, link, and generate proxy media. It's simple and very similar to optimized media. And what's the difference? Well, optimized media really is designed for being the optimized media that you want to work with on your local machine, not necessarily ideal, however, to be sending on to an editor per se. And we have tried this before with Optimized Media and it didn't particularly work because when it came to the project archive, it wouldn't allow us to work with just the Optimized Media. However, DaVinci Resolve 17 has fixed that for us because now what we can do is once we've generated our proxy media, if you come up to playback, you've got the options here to obviously use Optimized Media if available, but also to use proxy media if available. So obviously if I turn that off, I'm not using any proxy media, even if it is available. However, if I tick this and leave it on, then obviously if there is proxy media available, I'm going to be using it. It's going to automatically choose to use that media. Now, one way you can find out, much like Optimized Media, if you've got proxy media available, is you come into the list view. Let me just turn off the bin. List view, up in the column headers, right click, come down and you'll see a new option for proxy. But you can click proxy, turn that off, and you'll get a whole list there to show you whether you've got proxy media or not. Just worth noting. So what we do is we can generate our proxy media, and then when we come out to our project settings and we've got a particular project that we're ready to hand off, we simply right click it, come down to export project archive, and then we choose where we want to save it. So in this case, I'm just going to say there. And actually, when we now get the archive dialog box pop up, you can see here that we have the option of turning on proxy media, but we also have the option of turning off the media files, which means that essentially now we can send out this archive with just the proxy media being referenced and not the main bulky media files that we're trying to avoid from sending, which is really great. And then we simply hit OK, and off DaVinci Resolve will go and create a project archive for us. And then when it comes to your editor, he simply gets sent that archive file, which is hopefully a lot smaller now because we only have the proxy media in it. He simply opens it up on his machine. Again, as long as he's got the playback with user proxy media available, it should all work absolutely tickety-boo, no problems. He can then do the edit for you and then simply package it up and send it back. Now, of course, he wouldn't need to send you back a project archive necessarily. He could, of course, just share a timeline with you. And what's amazing with that now is that they've made it even easier to share timelines because you can now export timelines and bins independently and individually just using a DRT file. So it's a DaVinci Resolve timeline file. So that's very cool indeed. So the whole process of working with a remote editor has improved dramatically with this proxy workflow. One also thing I should mention about the proxy workflow that you may have noticed when I went up and looked at generating the media. If I simply select all of these clips again, and again go to the right click contextual menu, come down, you can see here that it says link proxy media. Now, this is really handy because this is actually going to allow me to go to my desktop or wherever my storage location is, find some proxy media that is attached to these and then link it up, which is really very cool indeed. So it could be third-party generated proxy media and then bring them in, which is really, really cool. Or also if they've gone offline, then that's a way of finding those proxy media files. So really handy indeed. So my number 2 option, again, in no particular order, which I think is really going to make a difference, is an option called Render in Place. Now, Render in Place didn't get a huge bit of spotlight on the actual live stream, but it has had a little bit of press since, and I think it's a really valuable option and it's going to be useful for a lot of people. So here I am in my timeline, and what I want to do is go to a particular clip. Let's say I've done a lot of color grading on this clip. Let's say I've also done some VFX and fusion work, and it's now being a bit problematic. So in terms of slow playback, and I've actually got another video on slow playback up here, so if you go and click on that card, it will take you to that. But regarding slow playback, if you've got this clip that's now being troublesome, it won't play back particularly smoothly, and you need it to play back just to be able to get an idea of, you know, how the edit's taking shape, then there are a couple of options. Obviously, you can come up to playback and you can look at the timeline proxy mode. You can also look at render cache as well. All of those will be a good option and will certainly help. You could look at reducing your timeline resolution as well. However, one of the new options they've got, this render in place option, is going to solve all of those issues for you. And actually, it's very easy to do. You simply hover over the clip, make sure it's selected, right click, come up, and you can see render in place. When you hit render in place, a little dialog box appears asking you what format you would like to render the media to. You can simply then choose whatever format you'd like. So again, there's no reason here why you couldn't, if you're working with high quality media that you're thinking you might well end up going to grade, you could then change it to 422HQ if you haven't already transcoded to that already. You could go to a lower res version. You could even go to a proxy sort of format if you wanted to. You can choose whether you want to include handles and how many frames of handles to include. So that will give you some wiggle room if you then decide, oh, actually it needs to be moved or slipped around in the edit slightly. You can still do that, and whether to include the video effects or not, and you just simply hit render. And let me do that in this case. So I'm going to do that, not going to include any handles, hit render, and I get to choose where it lives. So I'm going to put it there for now. It'll go off and render this particular clip out. Perfect. Now once it's done, you'll notice if I zoom in on the timeline that it has now changed from clip 11 to clip 11 with render 1 as a suffix. You'll also notice that actually up here, I now have a new clip called clip 11 render 1. And it is actually a new separate clip, totally separate on a storage location somewhere, that has been now moved into or rendered now into that format that you need it to. Now it should play back much nicer, much more smoothly, because it's a baked in rendered clip. So hopefully you'll have all your effects, you'll be able to get nice smooth playback if you need to. There's no reason either that you couldn't, for example, do a whole bunch of clips at the same time, render in place. Now what's really cool, and you might have just seen the option there, is that if you decide that, okay, I'm not really done with that, I need to unrender it, so to speak, then what you can actually do is right click and go decompose to original. When I click that, you'll notice it just automatically links back because it shares the association with the other file. And obviously this now is not used in the timeline at all. And you can notice that because that's not got the orange indicator there to show that it's being used in this timeline. So it's a really cool feature as far as I'm concerned. If you've got those problem clips, if you want to jump past caching and all this other stuff and just get one clip to behave, render in place is the option for you. My next one is actually to give Fairlight a little bit of love. Fairlight has had a really big bump in this upgrade, and not many people probably talk about it very much. Probably the audio guys do, and hello audio guys if you're there. Do let me know if you're an audio guy or if you're a VFX person. Let me know, and also what your favorite new update is in DaVinci Resolve 17. It'd be really great to hear what you think is the best new update. Obviously from Fairlight's point of view, I really like it as an audio editing platform. It really helps get in a bit more detail, and it's had some great updates. Of course, we could talk about all of them. In fact, DaVinci Resolve itself has had so many updates, it's just impossible to talk about them in one video. But my favorite one, I think, probably the option for automation follows edit. Now, what this is, if you're not familiar with automation, one of the things you can do in DaVinci Resolve Fairlight is be able to essentially control a track's automation, and that might be the pan level, it might be just the general volume levels, all sorts of things automatically by using the fader. Now obviously if you have a console, that makes real sense. It makes a little bit less sense with a mouse and a keyboard, but it is still very helpful sometimes to just listen through, watch a piece, and just gently move the fader up and down and have that be how you control your audio levels, rather than, for example, say, doing keyframing and manipulating each little duck manually. So let me show you how that works. First of all, I've got my timeline here, and I'm going to turn on this option here for automation. So we're going to turn automation on. Now what I need to also do is make sure that automation over here is turned on, and that I've chosen my automation that I'm trying to do. So in this case, I'm going to change the fader level. Also, what I need to do is, before I can do anything else, I need to change some settings up here as well. So I need to change the fader, and I need to change from touch, is currently off, so I need to put it onto latch. And I have the fader enabled, so that's all set up. So now I'm set up ready for automation. If I come back to the beginning of my clip, what you'll now see is over here I've got automation ready to go on track A1. And then simply what I do is I can then start setting my automation wherever I want this to start. So let's say I want it to start sort of quiet and come in louder. I'm going to leave it there. You'll notice how the fader starts to turn red, and I simply hit play to play back through. And as I go through, I can simply raise or lower my audio levels as I'm going through. So let's say we want some loudness here as it comes in, and then we're going to move it down, nice and quiet now at this point. And then we're going to raise it all the way back up. You can be very gentle, you can be gradual, you can do all sorts of cool things. I really love automation. Anyway, the point being, now we've sort of given you an example. I'm going to stop. You'll notice now how the fader's gone green, as has the automation gone green as well. Perfect. But we've got this automation in the audio levels, and you can see how it goes up and down for that. So we've got this nice automation going on. Now, previously that would be written to the track, and the problem being is that if you then move things around a little bit, the automation won't follow. And if you look, actually, if I move this from here to there, it doesn't move. It stays on the track, not on the clips. So obviously that's not going to be great for us, because we've obviously done this purposefully for our clips in the position that they now sit. So what we have to do is come up here to this little icon, which is automation follows edit, turn it on, and then when I make sure it is turned on, now when I move my clips, the automation follows, which is really very helpful indeed, because it stops you getting all out of place and not realizing that you completely mucked up your audio edit. So I think that's really, really helpful, and is something that will be a massive, massive game changer for most people who do audio and do automations. You'll also notice as well that obviously we just moved the clips up and down there, but if I took a particular clip like this one here, where there's a lot of automation on it, and grabbed it and dragged it up in the edit and moved it around a bit, say I wanted to put it up here, look, the automation has moved with the edit point So as that clip's moved, the automation on that clip has also moved. How good is that? Really, really handy indeed. It means that actually you're automating almost at a clip level now, not a track level. Okay, so my next favorite thing about DaVinci Resolve 17 is in the cut page. I love the cut page. I've actually used it quite a lot recently for rough cuts and assembly cuts, as I've been saying on this channel for a little while. And I like the interface. It's quite simple and it's great before we get into the final sort of throes of editing where you need to do things that are a bit more advanced. And I've got a small timeline laid out here, which we've been working on. And what I want to show you now is this great feature where you have audio trimming now available in the timeline. And what I mean by that is, obviously you've got a timeline here, and when we play through it, you can see what the little timeline's doing, which is great. However, the problem we've got is when I start wanting to trim, and let me just trim a couple of clips quickly to give us an example. So let's say I want to trim these clips here, and there's a particular point. Now this isn't a great point because the audio is not smashing, but let's say I want to get this trim a little bit neater and tied in with the audio, particularly for this track. It's very hard to see because the waveform is so small, and there's no way of easily seeing the waveform up here in the viewer. What we can do now is come over to this little icon called the audio trim, turn it on, and frankly I think I'm going to leave that on in a default state because I can't see why this ever would be a problem particularly. And obviously I'm going to grab this trim and I'm going to start dragging. Watch what happens in the lower timeline. How cool is that? I've got my audio point, let's say it's that spike I want to cut just before, and let go, done. Easy peasy. And I didn't obviously need to do that as a visual cut because in this case I was trying to eliminate a sound. That is so handy to be able to just go bang like that. When I saw this the other night on the stream, I thought this is genius. And again, of course, if you're trimming, you've got your trimming visual cues up in the viewer, so you can always trim to visuals up there if you need to. But to trim on the audio as well and just have that pop up large scale for us is really helpful, because even the one you see there in the advanced trimming viewer, it doesn't really help. So that is my next one. It's quite simple. It's just lovely. Go and use it straight away. I hope you've been enjoying this content so far. I have one more feature to share with you, so I just wanted to take a second to say thanks again for watching this video. If you haven't already subscribed and you're liking the video so far, do give it a little like, a thumbs up. It really does help the channel. It just lets YouTube know that people do like what we're talking about. We have something to say and it's of value to you. So please do take a second, like the video. If you have any questions on the video, any particular part of the video, do leave me a comment. I try to get back to every single one. If you're having particular problems with DaVinci Resolve 17, I'd love to help, really would. So pop me a comment down below if that's the case. So number 5, feature number 5 that I absolutely love and I think will make a real difference to editors, other than just say the marquee features of, you know, the color warper, the magic mask, any of these sort of big things. Let's look at something I think is really powerful and they kind of under-talked a little bit. First of all, new timeline, and I'm just going to call it multicam. Multicam, cool. And I've created that. Now I've got some interviews here, which I'm going to just drag in, and there's one, and that's a nice wide. It's our main master shot, and I'm going to drag in the side shot here, and I'm going to put it over here. Okay, so obviously we've got 2 clips now. They are on 2 different tracks, and of course we could just bump them there just for the time being, but this little feature works when we separate them up, obviously onto their own tracks, a little bit like we were going to prep a multicam. Now you'll notice they're not next to one another, they're not even close to being in sync in this situation. However, if we circle them, or select them if you want to call it that, right click, and then come up to auto align clips, you'll know where I'm going with this, based on timecode, based on waveform. Now these don't have matching timecode. I want to do this on waveform. Click, it analyzes, and bang, they are synced. How good is that? This feature alone made me just go, that's it, it's worth the admission ticket. £239 or $299, well spent. DaVinci Resolve 17, go and get it.
Shut up and take my money.
Obviously, I say that go get it. Obviously, the free version will do a majority of the new features, but anything that requires the DaVinci Resolve neural engine, unfortunately, you need the studio version for, so do go and have a look at that. If you would like to know a little bit of a better breakdown about the studio and the free versions in DaVinci 17, let me know, and I'll do a separate video on that as well. But there are some nice cool features, but for the most part, anything that requires the DaVinci Resolve neural engine is going to require the studio upgrade. Equally, some of the new OpenOFX are also going to need that studio. So do let me know if you'd like a video on that. I can make one for you, no problem. But in the meantime, look at this. We've got a perfect sync, absolutely perfect sync, which is amazing. So if I turn this top layer off, sync is good. Let's try and find one that's a bit more exciting. So he's moving his hands there. You can see in this program view, if I turn it off, look at that. That is in sync. The timeline shows us that, and the waveform shows us that. We've got a clip that's perfectly in sync. Really, really great to know. And what's also very cool about this is obviously we've just done that in a timeline, so we can now start editing. We don't need a multicam necessarily, but if you want a multicam, what's cool about this is, see this timeline here? We're going to right click on the timeline, come down, convert timeline to multicam clip, clickety-pom, we've now got a multicam. And if I take this timeline or this multicam clip, I can drag it into the other timeline, bang, we've got a multicam right there, bang, source viewer, turn on the multicam overlay, and there is our multicam ready to cut. No problem at all. We can simply switch between our angles, make our cuts. We're working with multicam. That has avoided all the time it takes to create an XML, go out to Syncalia, which was in another one of my videos. I showed you how about multicam in DaVinci Resolve 16. This now, if you're syncing via waveform, what a great feature. One thing I need to test, and I may well have to do this as a separate video, is actually to see how well it works when you've got multiple tracks of audio, multiple tracks of video, and actually whether it will be syncing separately individual audio. So for example, if you've done dual recording or dual system sound and you've got audio recorders worth of audio tracks that you need to then sync up to your main video track, does it do a good job? We'll have to see. Really, I don't know how well it works if we're doing stop start on cameras as well. Again, I'd like to double check that and I'll come back to you if we get any interesting results. But for the most part, for most basic sort of multicams, talking heads, things like that, this is going to be a game changer. Really powerful feature. Okay, so I've decided I'm going to give you another of my favorite features of DaVinci Resolve because I just couldn't help myself. So my final favorite feature of DaVinci Resolve 17 that I'm going to share with you today is scene cut detection. Now, scene cut detection isn't necessarily new for DaVinci Resolve, and the only limitation we had with it before was that unfortunately we had to do it at the point of ingest. So, which is all very fine and good, but we had to go in, find our clip, and I'm going to navigate to a clip that I know I've got. Here we go, and I'd have to right click, choose scene cut detection. And what scene cut detection would do is pop up a new dialog box which would help you go through all of the different shots in this particular clip and then helpfully break them up into its own individual clips. And that was great, and the dialog box was very helpful, but you had to do it at this point of ingest. If you'd done it, for example, if I drag this clip in here, now there's no option to do scene cut detection, which is really annoying because sometimes you decide actually after the fact you need to do that. So the great news is DaVinci Resolve 17 now has the ability to do scene cut detection in the cut page and in the edit page. So let me show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to right click and create a new timeline using the selected clip. I'm just going to call it scene cut detection. And I've now got my new timeline with my clip in it. And this is just a clip that I've quickly borrowed from the internet. And I just wanted to show you how this works with this particular clip. So if we go through this clip, you can see that there's obviously a number of different cuts in this sequence. And I need to get in here and grade some of these or play with them individually. So let me find a particular clip that I like the look of. Let's just use the Hulk's transformation here up until this point. There we go, maybe until Loki's smile. And we're just going to do the trim to trim the end of that, and we've got a nice little short working area that we're going to play with. So scene cut detection works just like this. It's not available on a contextual menu, which you might think. It's not available up in the clip menu, which you also might think. It is actually, however, in the timeline menu. So you go to timeline, come down here, detect scene cuts, and go get yourself a cup of tea, because this will work its way through the clip, working out where the scene cuts are. It's not the fastest thing in the world. I am on quite a slow laptop, so just bear with it. It is using the DaVinci Resolve neural engine, so you do have to have the studio version of Resolve to be able to run this. So it's just worth pointing out that actually it's well worth it. And actually they did also announce a speed editor keyboard during the live stream, which is really, really cool. It works amazingly with the cut page. It gives you lots of features and controls at your fingertips to be able to work through and cut, edit multicams, add transitions, switch back and forth between source and timeline viewers. Really powerful, designed to be very portable, very flexible, works wirelessly. What a great piece of kit. It's $299. Which is the same price as DaVinci Resolve Studio. And what they cleverly decided to do was bundle the two together, which is really great because it means that if you go and buy yourself the speed editor when it's available, you will get Studio version of Resolve as well, which in itself is worth that ticket price. So go ahead, get yourself DaVinci Resolve Studio and also enjoy the speed editor as well. Why would you not do that? In fact, I think I'm going to do that myself, and maybe what we'll do is a giveaway on this channel to celebrate getting to 1,000 subscribers. So if you are interested in getting a version of Resolve, I will go buy myself a keyboard and then I will send you guys the studio version of Resolve for the winning lucky person. So if you'd like to be considered for that, leave your details below and I'll let you know how we're going to do that at another point. But in the meantime, scene cut detection is done. So let's just dive in here and look at what's happened. So you can see that what's not happened is we haven't got a load of new media clips just being populated into the media bin. It's done everything based on the actual master clip that we had there in the media pool. And you can see that we've got lots and lots of what we call through edits. So as I zoom in here to this timeline, you'll see that there's the dotted line. The dotted line obviously denotes a clip that is broken up into a separate clip, but that now has individual sort of parameters, but it does actually belong together. They are sort of frame by frame accurate. So great thing about through edits is that they're very easy to get rid of. So if there's been a mistake, we can quickly fix it. We can also trim it or roll it if we need to then refine that a little bit more. And let's watch through and see where the scene cuts are. So sure enough, it's picked this one up, first one out the bat, not bad, cut, perfect. And there's no cut there, so that's a mistake, so that one needs to be fixed. So we can either right click, as I showed you before, right click, delete through edit, or I can simply move my playhead to just after that particular edit point and hit Alt and the backslash, and away we go, got rid of that one, let's move on. And you can also, obviously you don't have to play through your clips, you don't have to step through frame by frame, you could just move to the next point, step back a few and see if it works. Yep, that's a cut. And I think this would probably be a mistake. Sure enough, it is. So let's go Alt backslash. There we go. We move that one out. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, sure enough, that's a cut. That's a cut. Okay, that's not a cut. So let's go Alt backslash, take care of that one. Moving on. Yeah, moving on. Perfect. You can see how quick we're moving through here as well. Just moving through. Okay, that isn't a cut, obviously. So let's go Alt backslash, take that one out. I'm moving on. Really easy, really quick to do, move through, just double check. And now, obviously, I've got all of these individual clips that can work and be treated like independent clips. So if I need to do some tweaking, some adjustments, I can do all of that in here, no problem at all. You can even potentially then reposition parts of the clip really easily as well. So what really throws it off, and generally if you look, you can see that there's a lot of small, narrow clips where they think there's lots of cuts. Now, of course, in action movies these days, that could be the case, that there's just lots of cuts and lots of very fast action, but often it's very rare for cuts to happen so quickly. So here you can see, I don't think that's a cut. I think that's actually just movement, very fast motion. So let's just take that out. Yeah, as you can see, it's not. And what normally throws it off is, I mean, this is a pretty tricky clip actually, because it's quite dark. There's flashes of light, flashes of dark as bits of the camera get obscured. So that's where the things are going to have issues, where it's going to struggle to kind of pick it up. This technology is only going to get better as well. So scene cut detection, I think it's really powerful. It's definitely one of my game-changing features that's going to make a real difference to the way I work. Like with all of these, it's been about trying to find features that are really going to make a big difference to my workflow, to hopefully your workflow too, in terms of speeding you up, making you more efficient, saving you time and money. So there we go. Those are my favorite features of DaVinci Resolve 17 that I think will make a big difference to saving time and money and really have an impact on my editing workflow. What did you think? Did you agree or disagree with some of those? Please let me know in the comments below what you think. I'd love to know what your favorite features are in DaVinci Resolve 17 and how soon it is you're going to be able to get in and start working on it. But again, from me, thank you ever so much indeed. I know this video has been quite a long one, but I really wanted to get in depth with some of these great features and why they're important and why you should care about them too. So without further ado, I'll leave you to your day. Thank you ever so much indeed. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you in the very next video. Bye for now.